Every morning, before you begin your day, tell yourself, I control my mind, not the world. This is the first and most powerful Stoic affirmation. Life is full of events, situations, and people that will try to pull you in every direction. Some things will go as planned, many things will not, and others will test your patience. The truth is, you cannot control what happens outside of you, but you always have the power to control your perception and reaction. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself that external events are beyond his control, but his judgment of them belongs entirely to him. When you accept this, you gain unshakable freedom. Imagine a storm. You cannot stop the thunder, but you can choose whether to panic or calmly take shelter. Every time you wake up, remind yourself that you are the master of your inner world. By repeating this, your mind slowly becomes immune to unnecessary frustration and stress. You develop a shield that guards you against anger, fear, and despair. Even in business, relationships, or personal struggles, this perspective keeps you centered. So each day anchor yourself with this thought: my peace is mine. My mind is mine. The world cannot take that away. The second reminder to tell yourself daily is, today I will meet people who may be difficult, but I will not lose my calm. This comes directly from Marcus Aurelius's Meditations. Human beings are social creatures, but our interactions are not always smooth. You will meet people who criticize, misunderstand, lie, or even betray. If you carry the unrealistic expectation that everyone should behave kindly or fairly, you will suffer disappointment every day. The Stoic approach is to prepare the mind in advance. Expect that some people will be selfish, arrogant, or unjust, and yet, do not let that poison your heart. Their behavior is their burden, not yours. Your responsibility is to respond with wisdom and dignity. This doesn't mean you allow people to mistreat you, but it means you don't let their negativity shape your emotions. Imagine a soldier putting on armor before a battle. Your armor is your inner calm. When you wake up, repeat to yourself, I will meet all kinds of people today. Some will inspire me, others will test me, but none of them will take away my peace. With this daily discipline, you move through the world like a steady rock, unshaken by the waves crashing against it. The third truth you must repeat is, everything is temporary, and so am I. This thought may seem unsettling at first, but it is one of the most liberating insights of Stoicism. Everything you cling to, money, fame, health, possessions, relationships, will eventually fade. Even you will one day return to dust. Why is this idea empowering? Because when you understand impermanence, you stop wasting time on trivial complaints, and you begin to value each moment deeply. Seneca said, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." When you internalize the reality of mortality, you live with greater intensity and gratitude. If someone insults you, why waste hours feeling bitter? Both the insult and the memory of it will vanish soon enough. If you lose something, remember that nothing truly belongs to you, not even your own life. Every morning, when you tell yourself that everything is temporary, you strip away illusions of permanence. This makes you more present, more appreciative, and more courageous. You stop fearing loss because loss is natural. You stop fearing death because death is part of life. You start living not in tomorrow's fantasy, but in today's reality. The fourth affirmation is, obstacles are not enemies, they are teachers. Life will never be free of difficulties. You may face financial problems, career setbacks, health challenges, or personal heartbreaks. The common reaction is to resist them, curse them, or ask, why me? But the Stoic way is to see obstacles as opportunities to practice strength, patience, and resilience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Every challenge, no matter how painful, contains within it a lesson or an opportunity for growth. If someone criticizes you unfairly, that is your chance to strengthen your patience and self-control. If you lose a job, it is your opportunity to explore new possibilities you may not have considered otherwise. When you tell yourself each day, Obstacles are my teachers. You no longer see yourself as a victim of life. Instead, you become a student of life. Struggles lose their sting, because you know they carry hidden wisdom. This daily reminder transforms suffering into strength. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you begin asking, "What can I learn from this?" That question alone shifts your entire outlook on life. The fifth daily truth is, happiness depends on virtue, not circumstances. In today's world, people constantly tie happiness to external things: money, status, possessions, recognition, or success. But these things are fragile, and chasing them leaves you restless and anxious. Stoicism teaches that true happiness is internal and rooted in virtue: wisdom, courage, justice, and self-discipline. If you live with these values, nothing external can rob you of joy. A poor man can be happy if he lives with virtue, and a rich man can be miserable if he is enslaved by greed and fear. Every morning, remind yourself, my happiness does not depend on what I own, but on how I live. This perspective frees you from endless comparison with others. You no longer measure your life by how much more or less you have than your neighbor, but by the integrity of your character. Even when misfortune strikes, you retain your dignity, because virtue is something no one can take away from you. Happiness rooted in virtue is unshakable, because it is built on the foundation of who you are, not on what you have. Tell yourself this daily, and you will discover a happiness that cannot be destroyed. The sixth truth you must remind yourself every day is, my emotions are mine to guide, not my master. Too often, people believe that emotions simply happen to them and they have no choice but to obey them. But Stoicism teaches the opposite: emotions are not dictators, they are signals. Anger, fear, jealousy, or anxiety appear because of the way you interpret events, not because of the events themselves. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic, you may feel furious because you believe you have been disrespected. But another person in the same situation might simply smile and carry on, thinking it is not worth the stress. This shows that it is not the event but your judgment that creates the emotion. Every day, remind yourself, I will not be a slave to anger, fear, or sadness. I will acknowledge them, understand them, and guide them. By practicing this, you become emotionally intelligent. You learn to pause before reacting, to ask yourself whether your feelings are based on reality or on assumptions. In relationships, this keeps you from saying words you will regret. In work, it helps you remain calm under pressure. Emotions lose their power to control you when you repeat this truth daily. You become the ruler of your inner kingdom. The seventh daily affirmation is, discomfort is not to be feared. It is training. The modern world often sells comfort as the highest goal: soft beds, easy lives, instant gratification. But Stoicism reminds us that comfort can weaken the spirit, while discomfort strengthens it. A Stoic practices voluntary hardship, such as eating simple meals, sleeping on the floor, or fasting occasionally, not because they enjoy suffering, but because it trains the mind to remain steady even when life becomes difficult. If you tell yourself daily, discomfort is my training ground, you stop running away from challenges. Instead, you embrace them as opportunities to toughen your mind and body. Think of an athlete. Muscles grow only when they are stressed. Similarly, your character grows only when tested by discomfort. Losing a job, failing an exam, facing rejection, all of these are painful, but they are also training sessions for resilience. When you adopt this mindset, fear of hardship fades. You begin to see obstacles not as punishments, but as exercises that prepare you for greater strength. Every morning, remind yourself that comfort makes you fragile, but discomfort makes you unbreakable. With this, you develop courage to face life as it truly is, not as you wish it to be. The eighth Stoic reminder is, gratitude is my wealth. People often think wealth means money, luxury, and possessions. But Stoicism flips this idea. True wealth is the ability to be content with what you already have. If you own much but always desire more, you live in poverty. If you own little but feel grateful, you live in abundance. Epictetus said, "He is a wise man who does not grieve for the things which he has not, but rejoices for those which he has." Every day, tell yourself, "I am grateful for this breath, for this body, for this day." Gratitude changes your entire experience of life. It turns a meal of bread and water into a feast, and a small house into a palace. Without gratitude, even millions cannot satisfy you, because your desire will always outpace your possessions. Gratitude does not mean you stop striving for improvement, but it means you stop basing your happiness on what you lack. When you cultivate daily gratitude, envy disappears, comparison loses its poison, and your heart feels light. Repeat this truth every morning, and you will realize that happiness has always been within you, waiting to be unlocked by gratitude. The ninth thing to tell yourself is, "I will live today as if it were my last, but plan as if I will live forever." Stoicism constantly reminds us of mortality, not to make us fearful, but to make us conscious of how precious every day truly is. Seneca advised, "You act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire." People waste years chasing future dreams, while ignoring the only reality they truly own, the present moment. Every day, repeat this to yourself, "Today is my final gift. How will I spend it?" This mindset sharpens your priorities. Petty arguments, endless scrolling, or shallow distractions lose their appeal. Instead, you focus on meaningful actions, spending time with loved ones, learning, creating, and living with integrity. Yet Stoicism also teaches the balance of planning wisely for the future. Live each day as if it could be your last breath, but manage your affairs as though you will live long, so that you leave behind order and not chaos. This balance prevents regret. It makes you both urgent and prepared. With this daily reminder, your life becomes purposeful, not wasted in illusions of endless time. The 10th affirmation is, "My worth lies in my character, not in the opinion of others." Humans naturally crave approval, but dependence on the opinions of others is a prison. One day people will praise you, the next they may criticize you, often for reasons that have little to do with who you truly are. If your happiness rises and falls with their voices, you will never find stability. Epictetus said, "If you wish to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." Every morning, remind yourself, "I will not measure my worth by others' judgments. I will measure it by my own virtue." This is not arrogance, it is freedom. If you live justly, honestly, and courageously, you can walk with dignity no matter what others say. When you detach from external validation, you no longer fear rejection or insult. You also gain the courage to pursue what truly matters, instead of living as a slave to expectations. Your character is your foundation. It is the only possession that time, misfortune, or gossip cannot destroy. Tell yourself this daily, and you will stand firm like a mountain, unshaken by the shifting winds of opinion. The 11th truth to tell yourself every morning is, "I will focus only on what is within my control." Most suffering comes from wasting energy on things we cannot change. Weather, traffic, the economy, or other people's choices. The Stoics divided life into two categories, what is up to us and what is not. Epictetus taught that our opinions, desires, and actions are ours to control, while everything else belongs to fate. If you forget this distinction, you spend your days fighting battles you cannot win. For example, you cannot control whether people like you, but you can control whether you act with kindness and integrity. You cannot control whether it rains today, but you can carry an umbrella. By repeating each day, "I will master only what is mine to master," you conserve energy for meaningful action. You become less anxious because you no longer carry the impossible burden of controlling the universe. Imagine a sailor. He cannot control the wind, but he can adjust his sails. Life is the same. Each morning, anchor yourself with this Stoic truth, and you will live with clarity, efficiency, and peace. The 12th reminder is, "Time is my most precious currency." Money lost can be earned again. Possessions broken can be replaced. But time wasted is gone forever. Seneca wrote extensively about how people guard their property but waste their time freely, as if life were infinite. Every day, remind yourself, I have only this day, this hour, this moment. When you see time as wealth, you begin to spend it more wisely. You avoid meaningless gossip, endless distractions, and activities that do not align with your values. Instead, you invest in learning, relationships, creativity, and growth. Think of your day as a purse of golden coins. Each decision you make spends one coin. Will you spend it on envy, idleness, or anger? Or will you spend it on building something lasting, helping someone in need, or nourishing your soul? By repeating this Stoic truth daily, you sharpen your awareness of mortality and live with urgency. Time is not just something to pass. It is the essence of your life. Guard it as your treasure, because once gone, it never returns. The 13th Stoic affirmation is, nature has given me enough. I will not demand more than I need. The Stoics believed in living in harmony with nature, which includes both the external world and human nature itself. Modern life often tempts us to believe we need constant upgrades. Newer gadgets, bigger houses, fancier clothes, yet these endless desires lead to dissatisfaction. If you tell yourself each day, nature has already provided enough, you learn to distinguish between need and greed. You need food, but not feasts, clothing, but not luxury brands, shelter, but not palaces. Everything beyond necessity is bonus, not requirement. By embracing simplicity, you free yourself from the chains of consumerism. You also cultivate resilience, because if fortune takes away your luxuries, your peace remains untouched. Seneca said, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more, that is poor." Each morning, remind yourself that life's essentials are already in your hands: air, water, food, companionship, and a rational mind. Anything more is a gift, not a right. Gratitude for simplicity makes you rich beyond measure. The 14th truth is, every day is practice for my final day. Death is not a distant event. It is a constant possibility. Stoicism does not view this with despair, but with liberation. Memento Mori, remember that you must die, is not a dark phrase, but a call to live fully. When you wake up, remind yourself, this day may be my last. How will I use it? Suddenly, arguments lose importance. Grudges seem foolish, and your attention shifts to what truly matters. You become kinder, braver, and more focused. Thinking of death daily is not morbid, it is clarifying. Just as an artist works carefully, when he knows the painting may be his last, so too should we live carefully, with intention, because we cannot be certain of tomorrow. This reminder does not paralyze, it energizes. It pushes you to love deeply, act courageously, and leave nothing meaningful unsaid. Each morning, by remembering death, you learn how to truly live. The 15th daily affirmation is, I will act justly no matter what others do. Justice was one of the 4 cardinal virtues of Stoicism, alongside wisdom, courage, and temperance. To a Stoic, justice meant treating others fairly, honestly, and with respect. Not because it guarantees reward, but because it is the right thing to do. Many people act kindly only if they expect kindness in return, but Stoicism rejects this transactional mindset. If others act unjustly, that is their burden. Your duty is to act with integrity. Each morning, remind yourself, I cannot control how others behave, but I can control my justice. This builds consistency in character. Whether people are watching or not, whether you gain praise or criticism, you live by the same principle. Justice also extends to yourself. Do not be harsh with your mistakes, but correct them with fairness. By repeating this truth daily, you root your actions in virtue rather than reaction. Even in a corrupt world, you stand as a light of integrity, showing that justice is not dependent on circumstances, but on character. The 16th truth is, self-discipline is my freedom. At first, this may sound like a contradiction. How can discipline, rules, restrictions, and limits lead to freedom? But Stoicism reveals the secret: without discipline, you are a slave to impulses, desires, and addictions. If you cannot control your appetite, your desires control you. If you cannot control your anger, others can provoke you at will. True freedom comes when you master yourself. Every morning, remind yourself, I will practice discipline, because discipline is power. This doesn't mean living joylessly or denying all pleasures. It means knowing when to say no to excess and when to say yes to what truly nourishes you. A disciplined mind is sharp, focused, and reliable. A disciplined body is healthy and resilient. A disciplined soul is content and unshaken. Discipline allows you to build habits that create long-term success, instead of being tossed around by temporary feelings. Tell yourself this daily, and you will live as a free human being, guided by wisdom. The 17th reminder is, adversity reveals my true self. Anyone can appear calm, patient, or wise when life is easy. But when storms arrive, illness, betrayal, financial ruin, or loss, that is when your true character is tested. Stoicism teaches that adversity is not a punishment but a mirror, showing you who you really are. Marcus Aurelius wrote that fire makes gold shine brighter and weeds turn to ash. Difficulties expose whether you are gold or weeds. Each day, remind yourself, I will welcome adversity because it shows me my strength and my weaknesses. This mindset transforms suffering into an opportunity for self-discovery. Instead of asking, why me? You ask, what part of me is being revealed? If you lose your temper quickly, adversity shows you where to grow. If you remain steady, adversity confirms your progress. In this way, every challenge becomes a test and a teacher. By repeating this truth daily, you cultivate courage and honesty with yourself. Life's storms will no longer scare you, because you know they serve as tools to shape a stronger, wiser version of you. The 18th Stoic affirmation is, silence is strength. In a noisy world filled with constant chatter, arguments, and distractions, silence has become rare and powerful. The Stoics valued silence because it creates space for reflection, wisdom, and control. Epictetus advised, be mostly silent, or speak only what is necessary. Every day, remind yourself, I do not need to react to every word, nor answer every insult, nor join every argument. This doesn't mean cowardice. It means conserving your energy and using your words with purpose. Silence protects you from regret, because words spoken in anger often cause wounds that never heal. Silence also deepens your relationships, because listening attentively is more valuable than speaking endlessly. In silence, you observe, you learn, and you grow. By practicing this daily, you become harder to provoke and easier to respect. People may mistake your silence for weakness, but in reality, it is mastery. Tell yourself each morning that silence is not emptiness. It is power. It allows you to hold your dignity, even when the world tries to drag you into chaos. The 19th truth is, progress matters more than perfection. Perfection is an illusion that paralyzes many people. They fear failure, so they never begin. They fear mistakes, so they never learn. Stoicism reminds us that growth is a daily practice, not a final destination. Marcus Aurelius wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. Each morning, remind yourself, I do not need to be perfect today, but I must make progress. This simple mindset lifts the burden of perfectionism and replaces it with steady action. If you read one page, you are wiser than yesterday. If you resist one temptation, you are stronger than yesterday. If you show kindness once more, you are better than yesterday. By repeating this truth daily, you avoid despair when you fail, because failure becomes part of progress. Life is not about arriving at flawlessness. It is about improving your character, step by step, day by day. Progress is the road to wisdom, and walking it is more important than reaching the end. The 20th and final daily reminder is, I am part of the whole. Stoicism teaches that we are not isolated individuals but parts of a greater cosmos. Marcus Aurelius wrote often about the idea of being a citizen of the universe. Every action you take affects others, and every gift you enjoy comes from the contributions of countless people and nature itself. When you wake up, remind yourself, I am not alone. I am connected to the whole. This truth builds humility because you realize your life depends on forces greater than yourself: sunlight, air, the earth, and the labor of others. It also builds responsibility because harming others or nature is ultimately harming yourself. With this perspective, arrogance fades, selfishness dissolves, and compassion grows. You begin to act not just for personal gain, but for the good of the larger whole, your family, community, and the human race. By repeating this daily, you align yourself with nature's order. You live not as a solitary ego, but as a conscious part of the universe, fulfilling your role with wisdom and love.